Alrighty. Hello, hello, Tanya. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm doing so good. I appreciate you asking, Tanya. I'm super ecstatic because this is long awaited. I know that you and I have chatted here and there, and so I'm super excited that we finally got some FaceTime. And really, I'm excited for you to jump on in and tell me about your experience. So, if you don't mind, let's jump into it and tell me a little bit about your professional experience.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a seasoned executive assistant with 7 years of senior and C-suite supporting of multiple executives at one time. So previously at Velcro, I supported the CEO and two of her executive leadership team members. And currently at Ryan Companies, I support the regional president and two senior VPs.
That's amazing. And so, over the last 7 years, you mentioned that you've been an executive assistant. I'm always curious to know because if anyone's really in a role over 5 years, I'm kind of curious as to what keeps you in a role such as that. So, what is it about an EA role that truly keeps you in a role such as that?
The reason why I love being an EA is because every day is different. It's super dynamic. You're dealing with all types of personalities. You're constantly pivoting to adjust to their needs, but also the competing priorities of all your executives' needs at once.
Absolutely. I can only imagine that your day to day is just completely different. And like you said, being able to pivot, I think that's definitely key in this role. Now, I heard you also say that you are currently supporting three senior leaders. Um, how do you decide whose priority really wins when there's scheduling conflicts?
Mhm. Well, first and foremost, in the industry that I'm currently in, it's who is that going to impact? Is it customer? Because that comes first. We all know in every industry we thrive based on our business relationships. So while something might be super important and is equally important amongst all the leadership, what impact has a trickle down effect to hurt the client relationship? So that's how I prioritize. However, also time sensitive. Does something need to be done immediately? Does something need feedback before follow up can happen? So you're going to prioritize based on those criteria.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that with me. And sometimes we know that we may not always be perhaps prepared for anything our executive is needing. So tell me, what is your process when it comes down to the anticipating needs before an
Yeah.
exec asks you for something?
Absolutely. So anticipating needs, I tend to constantly audit my executives' calendars. What looks consistent? What looks newly introduced that could affect their productivity or create a bottleneck for the rest of the day? And what can I change immediately before they even know something like that has been introduced to keep the workflow going? We want all emotions to be nurtured. We don't want you to have too many high sensitivity topics and then you're going to flow right into a business relationship where you need to be endearing. So we want to make sure that these events are looked at individually and ahead of time.
That's right. Absolutely. I think that's very, very well said. And not only, and it's proven, right? I think it showcases in the work that you've done and will do. And so I think that's definitely a great process there. Now, as far as, because I kind of want to backtrack a little bit, as far as really your day to day with supporting the execs or the C-suite level personnel. Now, as far as your day to day, I want to know, were you doing any type of travel arrangements, setting up meetings? So if so, tell me a little bit about that and more if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So day to day, we're absolutely setting up travel. At Velcro, it was international and in the country, and at Ryan, it's mostly US. And we are setting up the travel. We are organizing board meetings off site. I've scheduled quarterly board meetings in London without being there, and making sure that that was executed for all the stakeholders at hand, everything from arrival to transfers to on-site and off-site meals, and helping to prepare the decks for presentation. So making sure that I am able to nurture relationships with parties that are helping me deliver an excellent event is one of the key things I take pride in. I come from hospitality, so I know how to work with hotels and restaurants and get those relationships working and trust in one another. And at Ryan, we're doing quarterly and end of year and mid-year updates where I'm helping to prepare the decks for the regional president who presenting company-wide. So we want to make sure that those things are immaculate and well poised for success.
Absolutely. That is more than I needed to hear now. That's incredible, right? Because there is so much that the EAs do for their C-suite personnel or their executive leaders. And so that really helps me really kind of hear what you were doing and more. So thank you so much for that. You mentioned events, correct? You were handling events. And so you were doing that even in countries, places that you weren't in, right? For example,
That's
London,
right.
you were able you were able to really just streamline that, the process of it all in a place that you were not in. I think really showcases your ability to one, troubleshoot and set up processes and really just ultimately achieve something great. So that's great in itself. Now, I want to ask, because I know my client does want someone to start really right away. So were you able to start a new position right away at all?
I am. I have already resigned from my current role, which I finish up on Friday, and I'm able to dive right in on Tuesday.
Awesome. And I want to ask as well, do you have any time off coming up in the next 30 days that we should know about at all?
I do not.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, Tanya, I want to thank you so much for the time you spent with me. I am going to go ahead and conclude this interview. If you don't mind, stay with me on the line. I am going to stop the recording for now.
Absolutely. Thank